All right. I've thought about this a little bit. The main thing is, last time, one of the many issues with last time was that I didn't like my character very much. I have to pick the gender first. Okay. Ooh. Gotta pick which of these first, next two. So, I was gonna talk about class, but let's look into these guys a bit. Godlike. I don't remember this guy. So you can be a regular old human with resolve and might. I can be an Aumaua with 2 might. A dwarf with might, dexterity, constitution. An elf, dexterity and perception. I played an elf. I think it could have been a human actually, based on the portrait. All I remember is the portrait, not the character. But I played either a human or an elf ranger, and I just thought it'd be fun to have a familiar, like a pet and everything, and run around like that. But my character felt profoundly unhelpful. He was just doing ranged damage, didn't have a lot of special abilities that seemed to help the fight that much. My pet didn't seem all that effective as a character. I hadn't met basically any of the tank characters besides the one you first meet at the beginning of the game, and I wasn't helping, and it just felt like the party was a mess. And I've liked hunter type characters in other games. I wasn't really fond of the one I had in that game, so I went away from that. I played like a spearman or something of some variation in Tyranny. So we're gonna really mix things up. But I don't think I want to have a giant spell book either. So I think I have an idea of what I'd like to do here. Gotta pick a character though. Let's look at my class first. Ooh, there's variations of godlikes. Is there variations of every... Yep, 3 humans, 2 Aumaua, 2 dwarves, 2 elves, 2 Orlan, and 4 godlike. God damn. I'm just gonna click through real quick just to look at the, what? Here we go. I just wanted to look back at the classes. So we have Barbarian, which is usually a squishier, more aggressive, but more tanky than a rogue kind of melee character. They often have like AoE and all that. Got a Chanter, which I think I'm going to make, which is a total departure. I think it's one of the few variations that is more or less a made-up character for this game. Bards exist in other games, but Chanter is so specifically weird, and I've never... They might have been in other Obsidian games in the past or something, but I've never seen a Chanter in anything like this character in any other game besides Tyranny, which is just the next game they made. But I liked the Chanter character in the party, and I liked the way their class worked, and I thought they were really interesting. So we'll look into that. I think Ciphers are the ones that they generate power. I believe that basically as they do attacks, they generate focus, which they can use to attack more with. Like they ramp up. Kind of like the warriors from World of Warcraft, where you have a rage meter. I think that's more or less how these dudes work. It's an interesting idea. I'm kind of attached to the Chanter though. Druids are straightforward. Cast leafy spells and probably summon, or if not, at least shapeshift. There's the shapeshift. All druids have mastered one animalistic form. Fighter. These are usually the tankier version of a barbarian, in that it's a big ol' heavy melee range dude that actually heals over time. Yep. Here we go. Fighters continuously regenerate endurance at a modest rate during combat. That's very useful. Monk. They usually don't even use weapons, or sometimes quarterstaves from game to game. Yeah, transcendent suffering, unarmed attack, basically. Wounds. When monks are damaged, the pain generates wounds. Wounds can be used to power many of the monk's special abilities. It's good to read whatever I want to get around to reading. I might even read every class's description of this universe, just because it helps us set up what the world's going to be like when we encounter these types of races in the game. Although it might be a lot of information to front load. Yeah, paladins are healer tanks, more or less. Paladins and priests are both religiously oriented, which means they might even have decisions in the game that are restricted to the morality and code of their religion. I don't know if this one will fully play into that, but they might, actually. Although priests dedicate themselves to specific gods, priests' powers actually derive from their personal beliefs. Yeah. If you can contradict your beliefs in many of these role-playing universes, you often end up kind of undoing your priest role as a result. Ranger. That's what we were last time. Wasn't psyched about it. Bonus stealth and stuff like that is useful for reasons. And having a perception-oriented character is good for finding traps and stuff, but I'm not repeating that mistake. Also, playing a different character will help better set this one apart from the last campaign. Rogues are vicious killers. Yeah, stealth stabby boy. And then wizards, generic spellcasty character. Alright, so I'm gonna play a Chanter. In every culture across Eora, there are Chanters. Many historians consider Chanters to be the most ancient workers of magic. Their hallowed phrases stirring the collective memory of wayward souls around them, compelling them to generate magical effects in a kind of reenactment. In some societies, Chanters form organized groups of storytellers and researchers, but in most parts of the world they are just a time-honored part of local folk traditions. So they have the chants and they have invocations. They just continuously use these chants, which in a way are like, I think of like the Paladin auras from Diablo 2, except they're like cycling through a series of them. It's a really different approach. Invocations, powerful magical effects that Chanters can create after they have spoken a required number of phrases through the chants. Very low endurance, low health, average accuracy, high deflection. So they do have defensive stats, which helps. Deflection's defense used to resist direct melee and ranged attacks against character that are not area of effect. It is defined by the character's class level and resolve, but also influenced by shields, certain weapons, talents, and other effects from spells or items. So you can probably take advantage of that high deflection. Whereas endurance is their survivability. So they have surprisingly low survivability. I looked into this a little bit, and I've heard them referred to as often being useful as a melee character, and that seems to be the standard approach to trying to figure out how to make this character work. But I guess they're definitely not going to be the mainline guy. We're going to rely on other characters for that. That's just going to be kind of where they are. And being in the center of the fray is where their chance would be most effective to reach the most enemies and the most allies simultaneously. Alright, so since we've looked at the Chanter now, let's actually look into our classes. Our different races here. So we can be a human and a Maua. Alright, humans. Commonly called folk, because they always seem to determine themselves to be the defaults, don't they? Are the most common race in Dyrwood. The Aether Empire, Old Valia, and the Valian Republics. Though not as large as the towering Amawa, humans are known for their strength and willpower. You get some resolve and might, just a bit. What does resolve do again in this game? We're gonna be spending a lot of time looking at tooltips. Internal drive, determination, fearlessness, and the emotional intensity they can project to others. It can be helpful for mental intimidation, leadership, convincing performances. In combat, it helps characters maintain concentration and contributes to will and deflection defenses. So it helps some defenses, but it's kind of a leadership or performance stat to an extent. Might is probably just melee attack. Physical and spiritual strength, brute force, as well as their ability to channel powerful magic. So it's actually weirdly a hybrid stat that works for seemingly for wizards and for barbarians, for example. It's the attack stat. During interactions, it can be useful for intimidating displays and acts of brute force. In combat, it contributes to both damage and healing, as well as the fortitude defense. It contributes to healing. Alright. I gotta be careful with these stats, because they might all mean completely different things than I think they do. Oh yeah, might. It helps with healing and spellcasting. You know, in addition to the obvious thing that I would think it does. The Amawa are all about might. The mighty Amara are the largest of the Kith races and are commonly found in or near oceans. Though not truly aquatic, they have an affinity for water, and many of their civilizations, such as Rawatai, are based on naval dominance. They are known for their unparalleled strength. Might +2. Oh, he is just a big dude. I looked at his face and I thought he was a bark man. Can I re-randomize him? Or no, it seems to have a default to show me. I saw the tattoos and I thought he was a tree man at first, but that's just either markings or colorations of his skin. Dwarf. Huh. His proportions are slightly unexpected. Like something seems different compared to what I'm used to seeing from dwarfs in appearance. Probably just that he's not fat enough, honestly. That might just be it. And his head might be smaller with respect to the rest of his body than I expect. By virtue of land covered and number of colonies settled, dwarves are the most traveled race in the world. They're commonly found in the Deerwood, the Villian Republics, and almost any colonized land. Dwarves are known for their great strength and tenacity. Good at might and constitution, bad at dexterity. And easy to justify if they're known for their it's not mentioned here, but if they're known at all for their drinking, then it'd be a pretty thematic chanter potentially, which would be kind of fun. Might represents a character's physical and yeah, we already know that. Dexterity is going to be the sneaky stat, coordination, reactions, dodge, speed. And constitution is overall health and stamina, not used much in interactions, but you know, it's good to be a durable boy. Elf. Elves are the dominant race of Ir Glanfath and the White that wends, and are extremely common in the Deerwood and Adair. Elves are known for their speed and intelligence, as well as commonly isolationist nature. You can have dexterity and perception. Probably not the highest priority, but I'm not in a big hurry to make the same character anyway. Oh, are you actually a tree person? No, you're not. You're a kind of a halfling thing. Orlans are the smallest of the Kith races, though many cultures don't consider them to be civilized at all. Also notable for their large ears, two-toned skin, and hirsute bodies, Orlans are commonly found in Ir Glanfath, the Ixamital Plains, and parts of the Deerwood. Also known for their mental intensity and sharp senses. So lower might, but higher other things. Perceptive and high resolve. Probably not the first priority, but interesting little character. Godlike. The godlike are children of the Kith, civilized races, who have been blessed with physical aspects associated with the gods, that some do not consider it a blessing, or though some do not consider it to be a blessing. These aspects may take many forms and often come with mystical powers. Aberrant head shapes are typical, and godlike are unable to wear protective headgear, as it is near impossible to find anything that fits. Because of their unusual nature and their inability to reproduce, godlike are often viewed with fear and wonder. I mean, that screams... This is what would scream video, like, chosen one protagonist to some extent, is to pick a godlike and just commit to being an unusual, very rare character that people don't know what to make of. A little bit too OC for me, even though that's what these guys are. These are all inherently OCs, but this one, it's a little too main character-y almost. But my curiosity is definitely there because he's a weird one. I'm definitely I might go with Dwarf. I never go with Dwarves because they're just kind of a little less appealing in general as a character. But I'm sorry, I'm rapidly spinning the character. But it might fit for a number of reasons. And I kind of like I do somewhat get amused by the idea of like the drunken singing and everything, maybe. Because I don't really want to be a human. Godlike's overdoing it. Elf, I did last time. I'm not really psyched about Orlan. I also think that the Chanter in this game might be a Maoan. So it'd be a little silly to be both the same thing. Yeah, let's see if I can make a character I like to look at as a dwarf. We have Mountain Dwarf and Boreal Dwarf. Pretty big changes there. Mountain Dwarves, Optapo, originated from the continent to the east of the Deerwood and have spread through the area several times. Unlike the similarly diminutive Orlans, who are frequently subjugated, the Optapo have always directly fought back threats posed by larger kith and opted to fortify their residences rather than move on. Mountain dwarves are common in the Valian republics, but not seen often in the Deerwood and Redseras. Hale and hardy, mountain dwarves have a bonus to defend against poison and disease attacks. Boreal dwarves. Most boreal dwarves, Anutanik, live in the remote southern island of Nasitak, where they share the rocky tundra and snow-covered forest with migratory pale elves and coast-hugging ships of Amawa. Like their northern cousins, Anutanik share an instinctive love of exploration. Ooh, that's appealing. Boreal dwarves are somewhat common in the Valian republics, but seldom encountered in the Deerwood. Hunter's instincts. Boreal dwarves gain plus 15 accuracy against any creature of the wilder or primordial types. They're just better at fighting a specific unit type. I wouldn't say that either of these are going to be a deal changer, so I probably just picked the character I like. These are the isolationist, or at least they're the typical mountain dwarf type that is hiding away and fortifying, where these are the exploration based. So I kind of like the idea of the Boreal Dwarf. Let's give that a go. Chanter, we've decided on that. Ooh, pick 2 phrases. Okay. Okay, so phrases. All chanters can continuously speak chants made up of magical phrases. Phrases produce passive effects and help build a chanter's power until they can use an invocation. Blessed was Wengith, quickest of his tribe. Increase the movement rate and reflex of all allies in the area of effect. So it lasts 4 seconds, lingers for 2 seconds, so there's an overlap where you're speaking the next phrase and the previous one is still affecting everybody. This one gives everybody a bit of movement speed and reflex. Reflex being handy, because it means, I believe, yeah, dodge out of the way of physical harmful AoE attacks. It's identified by, yeah. So that's an AoE dodge. Dull the edge, blunt the point. Reduces slashing and piercing damage of enemies in the area of effect. So minus 10% slash and pierce damage. Not a ton of effect. 10% is always never necessarily a game changer, but it can tip the scales, I suppose. This is all, and it is happening automatically in the background while I'm still fighting and everything. Thick grew their tongues, stumbling over words. I should have clicked on that differently. There we go. Reduces concentration of enemies in the area of effect. Is concentration there, determines how likely they are to have spells or attacks interrupted during combat. Every point of resolve increases a character's concentration and is opposed by the attack's interrupt rating. Like attack rolls, interrupts use a randomized roll to determine if the interrupt is successful. If concentration is superior to the interrupt rating, the interrupt is less likely to occur. So the concentration will... So it works for both melee... It sounds like it works for both melee attacks and spells. Usually it's just spells, perhaps. That makes interrupts more effective. Come soft, the winds of death. Drains a portion of endurance from all enemies in the area of effect, which I believe endurance is straight up health in this game. Endurance represents a character's short-term survivability. Damage that is not absorbed by a character's damage reduction goes straight to their endurance and health. Ah. I think endurance in this game basically worked like almost like shields in Halo to an extent. It's like a thing where you have a defensive health bar that kind of takes all the hits first but regenerates much more easily than the health, which is straight up actual damage to your character. Which I think helps balance the game better for you doing a bunch of encounters back to back. At the sight of their comrades, their hearts grew bold. Emboldens allies in the area of effect, giving them bonuses to Fortitude and Will. Plus 10 Fortitude, plus 10 Will. So Fortitude... Ooh. Fortitude is specifically resistance against internal systems like poison and disease. And Will defense opposes attacks that are mentally based, so spells. So inherently this feels like it's a big defense boost, but it's not direct defense boost like armor. It's more that it helps against negative effects happening to your party, essentially. So bonus damage and damage over time are both somewhat tempting, but it's going pure raw like that might be a little silly when you could benefit from having effects. But I'm not expecting a mountain of spellcasters, so it depends on how much concentration even helps out. This is interesting. None of them scream like being like a big standout spell. I'm gonna go pure defensive. Let's do minus 10% slash and pierce damage incoming from enemies. And not that one. Not that one. There we go. It's a little awkward that you have to, a little awkward that you have to, like, in order to read them, click on them. So at the sights of their comrades, their hearts grew bold. Dull the edge. Blunt the point. I'm gonna go for the buffs that help you against status effects in your party, while also reducing incoming damage by 10% from those two particular sources. It's a starting point. Invocations. But Rennie Derist Ghost. Oh, but Rennie Deret's Ghost. He would not rest. I get to pick one of these. Calls beyond the shroud and summons a phantom to fight for the party. They have a summon. If you can chant 3 phrases. Alright. So summon a phantom. And Hell Hirafs crashed upon the shield. Reduces damage reduction of enemies in the area of effect. So it makes the enemy's armor reduce, basically. It's cone based? Yeah, it's like 90-degree cone. Minus 5 damage reduction. That comes in handy. If their bones still slept under that hill, none can say. Summons 3 skeletons to fight for the party. A lot of summoning options here. Interesting. I didn't really associate them with being a summoner necessarily. I don't know if I remember them. I don't think I remember the guy being a summoner in a... Well, it was a woman, wasn't it? I don't remember her being a summoner in Tyranny. Not felled by the axe nor broken by the storm. Increases the slash and shock damage reductions for allies of the area of effect. So add to allied damage reduction. The thunder rolled like waves on black seas. Creates a thunderous explosion that stuns and shoves enemies in the area of effect. There's an actual attack with a stun, which would go well with me reducing the enemy's interruption, but that's not the path I've taken. Thrice was she wronged and thrice justly avenged. Drains electrostatic energy from the environment to create 3 bolts of lightning, causing shock damage to any in their path. Just a big lightning attack. White worms writhed in the bellies of the dead. Causes nearby downed enemy to explode. Whew. Expelling 3 white grubs and crushing nearby enemies. Does it create grubs that fight for me? Or do they just explode? Bunch of crush damage, but does require somebody to be dead already. Kind of tempted to just destroy the enemy's damage reduction, just making them vulnerable. a nice catch-all that might work in a number of situations. Lasts for 12 seconds too. A fair bit of duration. Oh boy. So it recommends Constitution and Intellect. And almost Resolve. I think that's what this means, right? Yeah, recommended for Chanter. Highly recommended for Chanter. So this is one of those helper effects, is that this recommendation tries to help me get where I need to go with these characters. It seems like you start off with plus... yeah. You start off with roughly 10 for everything, but I have a -1 to Dexterity, +1 Constitution, +2 to Might. Alright. There's a good chance to catch up on the stats we haven't followed yet. So Might we've kind of gone over already. Constitution is health. Dexterity, Perception, Intellect. Represents the character's logic and reasoning abilities. In interactions, it can be useful for deduction, sudden realizations, and problem solving. In combat, it contributes to will defense and influences durations and areas of effect for all abilities and talents. So this would increase my chance duration and its area, which I believe would increase its, that should increase its lingering effect, right? So that the spells continue to stack. But more than anything, it increases the area of effect, which means for both offensive and defensive chance, it'll last, yeah, it'll reach further. That's a pretty obvious thing to specialize in, yeah. And Resolve. Maintain concentration. Yeah, if I'm losing out on my... if I lose out on concentration, people could be breaking my spells and effects, because I do need to spellcast to some extent. But yeah, I also need to be able to survive. For a couple of reasons. Previous. Then next. Okay. It didn't reset. I was hoping it would reset so I could remember what stats I start off with, because I think I can keep reducing these. Yeah. These are more of a suggestion than anything, which does make the +2 to Might slightly strange, because, I mean, I can still move these around however I feel, essentially. Anyway. I believe I've done +4 here, +4 or 5 here. +2. Yeah, I think I've done +5 already. Whereas you have a +5, a plus that, yeah, naturally. Put one more to each. So a bit of Constitution, a bit of Intellect, but yeah, Intellect's definitely going to matter. So we've already increased area of effect by 36% and duration by 30%. That's helpful for my spells that reduce the enemy's armor, and it's helpful for my, hopefully for my chance, but I actually don't know if that's included in the duration. But that would increase the overlap that each chant has over the other ones, which would be very helpful. Let's go one more into Intellect and hope for the best. You know what? Let's put that point into Might. Give myself a few Might points, because I'm going to be a melee character, I believe. And now we pick our culture. I like that everything keeps slotting in just to make sure I can see everything. I kind of like the idea of having one suboptimal stat here. Oops. You so rarely do that. We need to pick which culture we have. The Edir Empire is currently the largest and most powerful force in this part of the world. It is centered around the equator and has a tropical climate. Though the Empire has colonies in numerous areas of the world, Greater Edir is at the heart and houses... Oh, Greater Edir is at its heart and houses the majority of its human and elven nations. Oh, I was thinking of houses as in like family houses, but they mean it houses the majority of its human... Yeah. It's just completely misreading that, basically. Deadfire Archipelago. This would make me relevant to the sequel, which is called Deadfire, and features a boat, and that's all I know about it. Which would have to, if it's an archipelago. Consisting of the nation of Nasitak, dozens of Amawan settlements, and hundreds of lawless, pirate-infested lands that stretch along the southern sea, Deadfire is home to boreal dwarves, Omawa, and a mixed variety of other races. Deadfire Archipelago is the last stop for anyone headed east. A multitude of monstrous sea creatures infest the ocean beyond, making travel virtually impossible. Monsters are real. Is it changing the weapon? And oh yeah, it's changing the weapon and costume and everything. Look at that. Ixamital Plains. Located in the northeast of Iarglanfath, the Ixamital Plains are a large expanse of fertile savannas that are extensively farmed by human and Orlan residents. The Ixamital culture is one of the oldest of the world, though one of the least imperialistic, having spread out little over the past several thousand years. They're content to stay put, it would seem. Old Valia. Once the crown jewel of the southern seas, Old Valia is now crumbled remnants of an empire of warring merchant nations, counting many humans and dwarves among their ranks. The Old Valian countries are still forces to be reckoned with and are proud of their rich cultural heritage. Intellect. Rawatai. Dominated by the Amawa nation of Rawatai, the Gulf itself is host to a number of nations, most of them Amawa, Orlan, and Dwarven. Though these countries are relatively young, they are some of the most advanced colonial settlements in the east. The Gulf is a land of riches and resources for those who can take them, though the entire coast is often pummeled by violent storms. So, young settler colonial settlements expanding for those that can. The Living Lands. It's a strange title. The Living Lands is the mountainous region of a large northern island renowned for its diversity of plant and animal life. Its weather is unpredictable and its ecosystems vary dramatically from valley to valley. The Living Lands are home to an assortment of races and a variety of colonial and independent settlements. That would fit with my explorative nature, perhaps. That could be interesting. The White That Wends is Elfland, I think. A large cracked southern expanse of polar ice, the White That Wends is home to pale elves and small colonies of daring explorers, outcasts, and adventurers. While virtually no plant life grows in the White, it is home to many hardy species of dangerous animals that forage from sea or prey upon each other to survive. Yep. So it was Dwarf, Boreal Dwarf. They actually specifically live in Nasatak. So I might want to commit to that. Which was like up here. Yep. So the Deadfire Archipelago is actually where this specific subset of dwarf is from in the past. I think you play as the same character in the sequel, so that could actually be interesting if my character has ties to Deadfire. If I do then chain the same character into the sequel and everything. That could be neat. Yeah? I can commit to that. It does clean up my 1-9 though, which is funny. It's a coincidence. Deadfire Archipelago, Aristocrat. You've lived your life amongst the nobility. Your days have been marked by lavish meals and extravagant parties. Your conversations peppered with talk of pedigree and bloodlines. Oh, insufferable explorer. You find the siren call of the horizon irresistible. You cannot help but wonder what lies beyond the next hill or wave. You've built your life around finding out. Lore and survival. Laborer. Your life has been spent in the study of your craft. You trained and prepared, hoping to hone your skills and ply your trade. Athletics and mechanics. Merchant. You've traded goods from all over the world, pairing items with buyers of all kinds. Lore and mechanics. Not really into laborer or merchant, honestly. Slave. You have never known freedom. Shackles and chains have bound your existence, and someone has told you what to do your entire life. Drifter. Which is different from explorer. You never quite fit in no matter where you go. Each new town is just a place to rest briefly before moving on to the next. You're more comfortable on the road, traveling the world. Very much fits the kind of person who is the protagonist of these games, because you never really do settle down usually. That's stealth and mechanics. Hunter. You live for the thrill of the chase. Whether for glory or for the sustenance, you have made your living taking the lives of wild creatures, survival and stealth. Mercenary. Blade and battle is your way of life. You solve your problems by putting out your weapon and applying force. Athletics and lore. Raider. You spent your life on the wrong side of the law. What you want, you take. And what was theirs has a tendency to become yours. Stealth and athletics. So the idea of being a chanter, a bard type character, I feel like that most directly supports being an aristocrat or a drifter, maybe a mercenary, especially an explorer. You could be a slave performer, I suppose, but these things are a little out of character and maybe out there, or at least that's how I'm seeing it. I'm particularly leaning towards explorer because it makes you a historian. If you cross these two things together, you're from the Deadfire Archipelago. You have to go around on ships to even get around and explore and get to places. You're far from home right now because this game, I believe, doesn't take anywhere near. I think this place takes place in the Deerwood. I'm not sure. It's not Deadfire as far as I can guess from the sequel though. So I'm away from home. So I'm an explorer. And I'm doing it for historic purposes, that I am creating new chants probably, and fulfilling that kind of bard role of recording this as we go. Like Dandelion from The Witcher and all that stuff. I like that. I like that idea. Keep instinctively going for done. Okay. Yep. Oh, we're gonna be here for a while. Yeah, so that's what the Amawans look like. They're kind of like shark people, or at least that's the reflex. Not everyone does it this way, but I'm going to pick a portrait that I like and then try to create that character out of the 3D model if I can, because I like it when they look like each other to some extent. And the portrait's the #1 reference of my character's appearance in the game, more so than even their physical appearance, which you can barely see. Like, this guy is immediately pretty neat looking. That's a warrior dude. Okay, admittedly maybe makes sense as character. A little off the edge though, perhaps. That's who I was last time. Yeah, that's definitely an elf. So I was an elf ranger last time. That might be all the dwarf portraits. Wow. Yeah, these go off the rails quickly. The humans. And a good old armored character never hurts if you just don't want to have to deal with the physical appearance at all. I don't think any of these are gonna even look kind of like a dwarf. Almost. Too spellcastery though. But yeah, these are just straight up different races entirely, so I'm probably not going to be pleased with these. And then female portraits. My god, by the way. Is that a god-like character? Can they look like that? Because Jesus Christ. Oh wow, they really flexed their muscles on variety with those portraits. Yep, these are all female. Alright, so dwarf dudes is 1, 2, 3, 4 whole portraits. That's all we got to deal with. It's pretty much going to be this guy or that guy, basically, or I look into whether or not you can do custom portraits in this game. I should look that up. Okay, not gonna lie, got into my own head a bit about like the vague issues of like, if I do custom stuff, like all the mod packs, those are all like basically just somebody stealing a bunch of people's deviant art images and then putting it in, and then I feel weird about like using somebody's art without their permission, and that, or can't even source it correctly because it's in a pack. But anyway, I found out this is from a Deadfire pack, and also I'm kind of warming to it. It's kind of a fun picture. And this is from the Deadfire pack, which means that it's an image related to Deadfire as an area. So it actually has a direct link to the origins of this character, which actually is a fun idea. The question is, can I even get close to being happy with them looking similar, would be one question. Because that's a weird beard. I don't know if they would include that weird beard. That might be about as close as I can get. Yeah, I either focus on the goatee aspect or the braided beard aspect, one or the other. A little hard to say. I think I might go towards the goatee element. He definitely has black hair, or as black as you can get, which is not an option. Cannot make a character with black hair. That's the closest we get there. All right. Okay. There's head options. Yeah, the face tattoos are off-brand, as they put it. This one has kind of fiercer eyebrows. I wish I could zoom in on this character while I'm making him, even though we're only going to see him from further away for the rest of the game. Don't fail me now, hair. Get even slightly close, I dare you. I'm not going to be pleased, am I? Straight up pink skin. Just fully commit to pink. A lot of these are very similar, aren't they? Hello. There's a divergence. Going full on crazy here almost fits. It kind of fits, honestly. More than some of the other options do. And then there's the mohawk. Back where we started. Oh. He's got personality, I'll give him that. Between that and that. I'm definitely going to be happier to be seeing him from further away than closer up. Because, yeah, the models don't stand up super well. I might have it on not maximum settings from being on the fact that we played this 2 computers ago originally. I don't know. So we'll see if I can pump it up a little bit. But anyway, we need to add some goddamn style to this character. I will not be playing a boring bard walking around in a gray suit. But you cannot make these pants very bright, can you? I want to go for the brightest orange I can, and that's not really an option. Well, he's turning out to be eventful. Do I want to commit to that hair, that facial hair? Let's cycle through them again real quick. I don't have to worry about respecting people's time. They're watching the character creation video. They're inherently willing to pour more time into the bucket of the intentionally optional video. There is the issue where the more you stare at a person's face, the more insane they start to look. Yeah, It at least has the chain of beads, which is one thing. Yeah. I can deal with either of these characters in a vacuum. I just wish they matched more. Which is whatever. Alright, yeah. That'll be my Chanter character. That seems like fun. We need to pick a male voice. Or not.
Yeah.
I've got this.
Let's go.
Quickly and quietly.
Just say the word.
I've got this.
You're mine.
Quickly and quietly.
I was so caught off guard, I thought I clicked on a female voice because I thought it was Jennifer Hale going, I've got this. Alright.
Watch and learn.
No prisoners!
They'll never know I'm here. Hey there. Watch and learn.
Show them how it's done! Keeping an eye out. What is it? Now I am the leader of the group. A blade in the dark.
I'm here. I'm flattered.
Stand together!
Not a sound. I'm here. Follow me.
Let's go!
Keeping quiet. Follow me.
Let's go!
My eyes are peeled. Yeah? I've got this.
Let's go! Quick and quiet. Yeah? I'll lead the way. You're mine. Quick and quiet.
You're mine!
Leading the way. Attack!
The better part of valor. I shall lead us. Silence surrounds me. Oh? I shall lead us.
I don't know if I can deal with I shall lead us from a dwarf. Even though Mystic is definitely what I'm going for.
Not a sound. Yes? I'm flattered.
But this guy sounds
I'm here. I'm flattered.
Stand together!
exhaustingly upstanding.
Keeping an eye out.
And this one's a cartoon character.
Yeah? Watch and learn.
Whereas this one sounds too Nolan Northy.
I'll take a peek.
So I'm like a little afraid to go with that.
Follow me.
Let's go!
Keeping quiet. Yeah. Follow me.
Let's go!
Quickly and quietly.
I kind of wanted the character to be a little feisty or something along those lines, but those voices are definitely like elves or gnomes or something.
Huh? I've got this.
I can't have that voice come from that face. It's gonna make me feel like a lunatic.
Step to our enemies. Nothing will slip past me. Ready when you are. I'll lead the way. You better run! Nothing will slip past me.
Yes?
Leading the way.
He's definitely not a noble,
Easy now. Yes?
but I can still do the voice.
Leading the way. Let's go.
Steady does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the stoic voice. It's nice and dwarfy-ish. None of them are that dwarfy. None of them are in Gimli territory, if that's what we're expecting. Which it doesn't have to be. Fuck, why didn't I think of a name already? Okay, time to stare at a wall for 10 minutes until I think of any name. Alright, we're going with Jaskier. Which, yeah, certain portions of the audience will probably spend the entire playthrough bemoaning my lack of correct pronunciation, but I'll try. Comment in the comments if you get the reference or the origin of this name that I've chosen. I didn't exactly make it hard this time. Boom. Jaskier, level 1 Chanter. He's got a voice, he's got an origin. I've spent like an hour thinking this through. As you should at the beginning of a game like this, I suppose. I haven't made a character in a while. It's been a surprisingly rare experience. Playing both Pathologic games within a year of each other. It's meant a lot of the RPG slot was spent on games with a predetermined protagonist. The last time I made a character might have been Vampire the Masquerade's Bloodline? Probably? Whew. And we'll hit done in the real episode.